So now I can see several different views, right? Some of you feel confident enough and support this idea of technology integration. For some of us, it is a complication issue. For some of us, again, it sounds great. Okay, thank you. Some of you have English lessons in the computer class, so technology is already, and I suppose has been already integrated into the curriculum. So basically, I would like to start with a well-known quote by Cheryl Nussbaum-Beach, who said, "Teachers will not be replaced by technology, but teachers who don't use technology will be replaced by the one who do." Actually, she didn't quite said that. She wrote it, or she posted it in a blog post, which is dedicated to teaching in the 21st century. And she did it in 2008. So it's been how long? 13 years so far, right? And we are still quoting her. And I also wanted to pay your attention and to emphasize that actually what she said was that if you are afraid of being replaced by a computer, then you probably should be. And I would like to look at it from the other perspective, and we're going to watch a really short commercial. Do you have any ideas, like a kind of guessing activity? Why am I going to show you a commercial? And looking at this picture, which basically shows a hand and a tap, what do you think in terms of technology integration I'm going to speak about? Any ideas? No. No ideas. Actually, if I personally was asked this question, I would also have no ideas. So let's move on and watch a really short commercial. I hope that after watching it, you will have ideas on why I chose to show it to you. Okay, ready, steady, go.
This is a classical design we did in Milan. Postmodern residence in design won 5 prestigious awards. Haki headquarters in Kyoto. To see our architecture, you don't look around the corner, you look around the world. So, what can I do for you?
Design a house around this.
That's a fantastic commercial, isn't it? That's actually what we, English teachers are often asked to do, especially when we speak not about teaching in school or in tertiary, but working in private language schools, or having our being tutors, having our own individual students. So basically, the whole educational community has been facing the need to integrate technology into the process, but not just being overwhelmed or being snowed up under the number of technological tools, apps, educational sources, iBooks, ebooks, and etc. We have. But thinking of the curriculum, thinking of the syllabus, thinking of the learning outcomes and ideas we have. So we're going first to really quickly look through the most well-known frameworks for technology integration: Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge, or TPAC, Technology Integration Matrix, or TIM, and Substitution, Augmentation, Modification, and Redefinition, SAMR, or SAMR. Before we begin looking through them, I'd like to ask you whether you've already come across those frameworks for technology integration. I would truly appreciate it. Not yet. Okay. I suppose the most well-known one in Russia is SAMR, Substitution, Augmentation, Modification, and Redefinition. But we're going to look with a conceptual idea of TPAC, or Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge. And I suppose, again, that the best idea to introduce it would be to watch a short 2-minute video introduction of the concept. Okay.
Here's TPAC in 2 minutes. For more information, visit tpac.org. So first we have to ask, what is it? Well, TPAC is a framework that combines three knowledge areas: our technological knowledge, content knowledge, and our pedagogical knowledge. And it looks at how they work together to increase student motivation and to make the content more accessible to students. We look at the content as what? It's the subject matter we're teaching, like ecology, music, algebra, health, geometry, or art history, to name a few. Then we look at our pedagogical knowledge. It's the how. Every teacher has tools, so let's put them to use. Are we going to be using direct instruction? Will this be inquiry-based group discussions? How are we going to make the content more accessible by the way we present it to our students? Then we look at selecting the appropriate technology because it's the partner. What tool will we select to make the content more accessible to the students while supporting the pedagogical strategy which we've identified will help to deliver this information to students? We must identify those support features to really help us use technology to reach our outcomes. As we understand them individually, we can start to see overlaps. Our TP knowledge allows us to understand how we're making the content more accessible. Our TC knowledge allows us to identify the affordances of pairing the appropriate technology to the content. And our PC knowledge allows us to identify the affordances of pairing the appropriate pedagogical strategies with the content. TPAC comes from the overlapping in that center spot, or as referred to it as the sweet spot, when all three knowledge areas work together. It's crucial to remember that surrounding this is the context that's you and your students. This may look differently when you walk into classrooms because at the heart of TPAC is meeting students' needs.
I'm terribly sorry, Michael. I must have forgotten to switch off my mic. Sorry for the double echo. So, shall we watch it one more time? Today, I'm facing lots of technical mistakes, so I will turn off my my mic, and we will watch the video one more time. Thank you.
Here's TPAC in 2 minutes. For more information, visit tpac.org. So first we have to ask, what is it? Well, TPAC is a framework that combines three knowledge areas: our technological knowledge, content knowledge, and our pedagogical knowledge. And it looks at how they work together to increase student motivation and to make the content more accessible to students. We look at the content as the what. It's the subject matter we're teaching, like ecology, music, algebra, health, geometry, or art history, to name a few. Then we look at our pedagogical knowledge. It's the how. Every teacher has tools, so let's put them to use. Are we going to be using direct instruction? Will this be inquiry-based, group discussions? How are we going to make the content more accessible by the way we present it to our students? Then we look at selecting the appropriate technology because it's the partner. What tool will we select to make the content more accessible to the students while supporting the pedagogical strategy which we've identified will help to deliver this information to students? We must identify those support features to really help us use technology to reach our outcome. As we understand them individually, we can start to see overlaps. Our TP knowledge allows us to understand how we're making the content more accessible. Our TC knowledge allows us to identify the affordances of pairing the appropriate technology to the content. And our PC knowledge allows us to identify the affordances of pairing the appropriate pedagogical strategies with the content. TPAC comes from the overlapping in that center spot, or as we refer to it as the sweet spot, when all three knowledge areas work together. It's crucial to remember that surrounding this is the context. That's you and your students. This may look differently when you walk into classrooms because at the heart of TPAC is meeting students' needs.
Dear colleagues, I hope this time it was much better. So how do you like the concept? All the three concepts, including TPAC, were developed in at the beginning of the 21st century. This one was developed in 2005. And on the slide, you can see the link to the organization, tpac.org, where you can actually find lots of free materials and also some videos on how this framework is introduced into teaching. Though the researchers I've read say that it is more of a general concept on how technology can be integrated. As before, we used to either think on content knowledge or pedagogical knowledge, right? Then we started, if we look through history, then we started combining them and working on the intersection of them. Then we added technological knowledge, and now we need to be at the intersection of these three events. Here on this slide, I introduced the description of how the authors describe this TPAC model, TPAC framework, and basically the underlying idea is that we should focus on different kinds of knowledge and their combination to have a truly technological, integrated classroom. So they said, underlying truly meaningful and deeply skilled teaching with technology, TPAC is different from knowledge of all three concepts individually. Instead, TPAC is the basis of effective teaching with technology, requiring an understanding of the representation of concepts using technologies, pedagogical techniques that use technologies in constructive ways to teach content, knowledge of what makes concepts difficult or easy to learn, and how technology can help redress some of the problems that students face, knowledge of students' prior knowledge and theories of epistemology, and knowledge of how technologies can be used to build on existing knowledge to develop new epistemologies or strengthen old ones. Okay, the second module the second framework we're going to look through is called SAMR or SAMR, And basically, it includes 4 stages. Substitution, you can see it at the bottom on the right, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. And this model was also developed at the beginning of the 21st century. You can see a link to the official site of this model and its developers. Let's have a look of how at each stage we can change the learning experience our learners have. For instance, at substitutions stage, where technology acts as a direct tool substitute with no functional change, we can think of the following examples. They are all mentioned on the slides, but I will just quickly look through them. First of all, and it has been typical, I think, technology integration for many years, right? Using Word or Google Docs instead of writing an assignment. A lot of teachers have done courses on how to use Google Docs in education, and according to the survey, Google Docs are now one of the most widely used program in educational context. The second point, of course, is also absolutely obvious. It is using PowerPoint or Keynote instead of verbal presentation. Why this is a substitution, right? We just use a different tool, but there is no functional change. In other words, we can either read a lecture or we can support our lecture with some pictures and give a presentation using different sources. Number 3 is more for, I would say, students who are in painting or architectural studies, which is sketching on a computer instead of on paper. In our reality, I would say that if we ask or if we allow our students to take notes on their laptops, on their mobile devices, or maybe on their tabs, that would be a good example of substitution. Number 4 has also reading a paper or book on a device, or having what is called a flip book, right? A PDF version of a course material of a course book has also been our reality for the past years. And I suppose it's not big surprise to all of us, right, to read a book on a book reader, for instance, or on our laptop, and to use it in our educational process. Number 5, taking a quiz online using such tools as Mentimeter, Kahoot, Quizlet maybe, etc. There are lots of them nowadays, and they have been widely used in our educational process as well. Number 6, watching a video rather than watching an instruction in person has becoming more and more popular nowadays. And I think we've been also using this idea in a flipped classroom. Well, and number 9, I would finish at substitution stage with that one, emailing an assignment rather than handing it in physically. So could you please take 1 minute and tell me, or I'd rather say type, what tools do you use at this stage, if it is the right stage for your technology integration. What about you? Which tools do you use as a substitute? All of them. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Ksenia. Thank you, Marina. I'm happy to hear that you use Active Teach. Kahoot, okay. Okay. And one more question to you, colleagues. Can you please think of some tools which we can use at substitution stage and which are not mentioned here? Can you think of any other examples? Alice wrote YouTube, but I suppose that's for showing videos or using them as an explanation. Michael is offering us to look at what Jamboard is. Michael, is it for group work? Okay. Different games. Learnings. Okay. Books. Znanie. TEDx. Okay. Oh, sorry, TED. Any whiteboard substitute. Okay, thank you. So, colleagues, thank you for sharing. I think a lot of us will look, being curious and active learners, will look through the tools you offered for the substitution stage. The second one is augmentation, and what basically happens at this stage is that tech acts as a direct tool substitute with some functional improvement. For example, we can use online dictionaries instead of printed ones, or we can use Google Form text with automatic marking script, right, which is fantastic. Or sharing a file through Dropbox, or using Pearson's LMS My English Lab, again with automatic scoring. At the third stage, which is called modification, technology allows for significant task redesign. That is why we are moving further to transformation of what is happening. For example, when we teachers or our students use Google Docs to collaboratively write a paper, leave comments, it does significantly change the task. And also here we're speaking about group work, right, teamwork and collaboration. Sharing a file using a learning management system also transforms the educational experience. And watching online videos of lectures and explanations, and then, attention, use an online mind mapping tool to express their reflections. Dear colleagues, do you use mind mapping as part of your educational process? Have you ever asked your students to draw a mind map online after watching a video, for example, on YouTube or a TED video? I'm happy to hear that you do. Then maybe will you share some online programs which allow our students to draw mind maps? Do you draw mind maps in Miro or? Okay, Nina, thank you. I do not know this technological tool. Absolutely, Svetlana. I do agree that mind mapping works well, as different types of memory are involved and activated there, as well as what is called TPR, right? Okay. Okay, Michael is still for Jamboard because it works at all levels of SAMR. Okay. And redefinition is the highest stage of integrating technology into the classroom, as it allows for the creation of new tasks previously inconceivable. The brightest example here would be Google Apps paperless classroom. When I personally first heard of the idea of a completely paperless classroom, and I should say that my teaching experience includes teaching in different teaching contexts, so to say, in private language school, as an individual tutor, in tertiary, in university, and in public school. And where I first heard this idea about, I suppose, 10 years ago, of a completely paperless classroom, I was surprised of how exactly my manager, my boss, was thinking of us going to implement it. And 10 years passed, right? And today this idea does not seem absolutely unachievable. And actually now it is our reality. Okay, thank you, colleagues, for sharing your ideas on different tools. One more example of redefinition stage is using near-pod presentations. It is a website where you can create your own interactive presentations, and also students can interact with each other, and you can check their feedback and etc. If you haven't looked through it, I also do ask you to look through it. If you are looking for a new tool for redefinition stage of the SAMR module. Diana has a question. Isn't writing one more skill to be improved? I mean, handwriting, which requires different efforts. Thank you, Diana, for your question, colleagues. If you have something to tell to Diana, I think she will be interested in some kind of interactivity, right? And some kind of our common discussion. But of course, writing it on paper is a skill to be improved. But today my webinar, first of all, is about mostly teaching adults and teaching them in business English environment. Speaking of primary and pre-primary, right, primary, today what I see is that they do not only use handwriting, right? Different applications offer this painting with the fingers techniques. But I personally still prefer to take notes in a notebook. And apart from using technological tools, I personally do write on paper. Though when I teach now, and I mostly teach adults, I would say 30 plus, of course, I do not ask them to write on paper, though some of them prefer to do it. And apart from having technology, from using technology, they take notes on paper. Yes, and thank you. My colleague also helps me answering this question and draws your attention to the point that typing in English for the right spelling is also a very important skill for students. Okay. And here is an example of transforming lessons through the SAMR cycle, when the original letter on email etiquette was to review printed copies of email etiquette concepts and guidelines. Then at substitution stage, students read an online article discussing email etiquette concepts and guidelines. right? Then at augmentation stage, they also go and follow the link to examples, and they offer comments online indicating their top favorite tips. At modification stage, they watch a video and they create a Twitter account and tweet their top 5 tips. And at redefinition stage, they watch the video, then assess examples of email etiquette violations, and indicate which guidelines should be applied to correct or to improve on their examples. Okay. So we are moving on to the technology integration matrix, which is, again, a really interesting concept. Unfortunately, as our time is limited, we're not going to go deeply in the details. I just want to introduce this idea and this framework to you. Basically, you can see that it is a relation between characteristics of the learning environment, and these 5 interdependent characteristics of meaningful learning environments include that environment should be active, collaborative, constructive, authentic, and goal-directed. And also you can see that these characteristics of meaningful learning environment can be at different levels of technology integration, at entry level, at adoption level, at adaptation level, at infusion and transformation levels. We're going to look through just one example of an active learning technology integration of an entry level. So at entry level, information is passively received. And we're speaking about 3 parties here, about students, about the teacher, and about the setting. So as for students, they receive information from the teacher or from other sources, and students may be watching an instruction video on a website or using a computer program for drill and practice activities. I think it's quite obvious and quite typical thing all of us has done. At this stage, the teacher is the only person who is actively using technology. In the, sorry to say so, pre-COVID times, it was, I suppose, very, very popular thing in technology integration. And the setting is arranged for direct instructions and individual work. Any student access to technology resources is limited and highly regulated. Okay, now we're moving on to the next part of our presentation, which will be basically about technology evaluation form. Basically, what the question we are going to answer is how to make technology work for you and how to choose the best digital teaching assistant. Of course, being a representative of Language.Prosveshcheniye and working with Pearson programs, I'm going to explain this evaluation form on the basis of Pearson English portal. And namely, as we're speaking about business English, I will take business partner as an example. Say, when we're speaking about technology evaluation form, step number 1 would be to have some general information about technology. Its name, which age it suits, which type of technology it is, source, and any associated learning standards or objectives. I think this general information is quite obvious. At the next stage, step number 2, we're going to have some resource description. In terms of business partner, here I mentioned only the digital resources available on my English Lab platform. And you can see that there are actually lots of them, not on the Pearson English portal, excluding, right, interactive textbook, online presentation tool, and etc. So number of digital resources is amazing. At step number 3, and I suppose that's the most important part of this technology evaluation form, is content and pedagogy. So we should answer the following questions. Whether our students can use creative thinking or will create an innovative product. With speaking of Pearson English portal and business partner, I would say my answer is yes. So think of technology you use and answer this question, please. Then the second point is connect. Students can communicate with others outside the classroom. Though my answer here is no, I should mention that when you teach through Pearson English portal, you have Zoom built in. So basically, you can communicate with students, but the platform itself does not mean creating this additional environment for them to communicate. So here, I think the most obvious solution will be of creating a Telegram chat or WhatsApp chat or some kind of email chat or etc. Well, the third question is whether this technology allows students to do a research, whether they can gather, evaluate, and use information. As for business partner on Pearson English portal, my answer is definitely yes, as I suppose knowing how to learn is crucial when we speak about teaching adults. And speaking of teaching students, I suppose it is part of our federal state law requirements in terms of UD, right? The next question is whether it allows our students to collaborate, whether they can work together with the classroom or outside of the classroom. Then contextualize, whether they can make connections between content areas, ideas, and solve problems in a real-world context. As you know, all Pearson textbooks have this problem-solving built in the program, as all of the modern textbooks are built about developing 21st century skills. Again, here we have a question on critical thinking and very important on digital literacy, right, on building technology skills. The next thing, step number 4, is implementation. Though, as I have already mentioned, content and pedagogy are, of course, of top priority. So if we are weighting up step number 3 and step number 4, I would say that step number 3 is more important. So at implementation stage, we should look through whether this technology allows students to work at different levels or paces. If you ask me about Pearson English portal, then of course, yes, it does. Gathering data about themselves. All the books, all the portfolio of Pearson books includes self-assessment and reflections sections, regardless of whether they speak of even pre-primary, right? Pre-primary, primary, secondary, getting ready for the exams, teaching general English to adults, teaching business English. Where like is number 3, right? Whether our students can use the intuition, whether all the all the resources, right, they have to use are, so to say, user-friendly. I would like to share my experience with you, which I suppose would very brightly illustrate the idea. My eldest student is 69 years old, and she's a fantastic lady. So when I started using Pearson English Portal with her, she told me, wow, it's amazing. It's easier than WhatsApp. WhatsApp application. So I think this answer illustrates it in the most vivid way. And motivation, right? Motivation is an issue, whether our students are motivated. We understand that setting clear goals and expectations, and this is a part of each and every Pearson book, and then assessing what has been done in this lesson and what lessons, right, they have learned. Everything is built in, so we just need to shift focus of our students to this matter. Okay, and step number 5 is logistics. And logistics includes 3 points. Whether this technology is free? No. Pearson English Portal is not free, and of course we understand the reasons for this. Is it easily accessed? Yes, it is, but you need to buy it and then go through a simple application process. Is it reliable? Yes, it is. Thank you, colleagues. So I hope this technology evaluation form we have just covered will help you in the future to evaluate the technology you use, as having a checklist, right, having very clear steps to follow is always a good solution. I would also like to either introduce, I'm not sure, or remind you through the great, very practical, really practical framework Pearson has developed. The name of the framework is ESAP, and as you can see here, it involves 4 stages: engage, study, activate, and practice. As this webinar is on business English, I'm going to illustrate it using examples from Business Partner, though I should mention that ASAP framework is applicable to all the range of Pearson books. So at the first stage, engage, which is typically the beginning of our lesson, whether it's face-to-face or online lesson, where we do some warm-up or lead-in or activate prior knowledge. What we actually can do, we can use Pearson English Portal with already built-in pictures and everything for the engagement stage, and thus create a more personalized learning experience for students. That's what I mean by Pearson English Portal, and namely a presentation tool. It's actually an interactive ebook which you can show to your students online. And here, what's really fantastic, you have 2 options, both plan and teach. Though if you follow teach option, you can always look through teaching notes. For instance, here is a picture from a unit overview on managing time from Business Partner B2. And what I also would like to draw your attention is that last year Pearson won ELT Tons Award for its research in learning objectives. And what I mean is global scale of English, which is a very good addition to common European framework of references. What I really love about all the books is that I have learning objectives. I personally can very easily communicate to my students. And I start the lesson, typically I start the lesson with communicating learning objectives so that my students can tick whether they have achieved them during our lesson or not. And it works good for both sides. I know what I'm going to do, what my students are going to do, and my students, on the other hand, they gain confidence in what they have learned and how much they have done during the time we've been together. So at the engage stage, the task is for us to engage students. If we speak of Zoom, where students usually, and group teaching, where students usually enter the room at different times, we would say that typing some kind of question for them to answer when they are joining is a good idea. For example, how do you feel when you're late for an online appointment? It seems to me to be a good question, and the unit I'm going to speak about is on time management. Then Pearson English Portal has such a fantastic tool for organizing teamwork. And in terms of working with vocabulary, I usually ask students to choose a word that they learned in a previous lesson and in turns to define it to the whole class. And we can not use TMA, right? We can type in, we can change and adjust it and type in the names of our students. What is important? Scores are really important. And then we have a winner, and what a winner gets. He gets additional motivation to continue learning new words. I'm rather, to tell you the truth, I'm rather old-fashioned, and I've been using Quizlet for, I suppose, 13 years, or maybe 14 years, and I still do love it. So I still use Quizlet, as I'm used to using it. I have lots of materials there, right, and etc. So to this extent, I would say, as all of us, I'm also resistant to change, though curious. Then stage number 3, Marina asks whether I can show an example of this game. I didn't quite understand. Colleagues, so I cannot keep this question to the end. I will return to the previous slide and will tell. And while I'm answering Marina's question, will you please type in either plus or minus if you know what Quizlet is and if you use it and how you feel about it and etc. So the game. For example, my students had to look through the following vocabulary, right? To be in two minds about something, to think twice, narrow down, trust your gut, sleep on it, different perspectives, and etc., etc. Before, right, I used to cut in the cards, and they would have it in... and they would have it in a pile and then take the card in turn, explain the meaning, right? To be in two minds about something, to be unable to decide, or they can go different ways. You have one brain, right? And this brain drives you to different decisions, but then you imagine situation you do not have one brain, you have two brains. So actually what is important is that students like explanations, and then if we have score with the winner, and the winner is a person who has guessed the biggest number of words, gets something. But for me, what's important for me, first of all, that we check vocabulary, we practice speaking, we use new words in context, because I always ask them then to make up questions with the new word combinations, or I ask them to make up a sentence. Depends on the class, depends on the group. And for me, what's also really important, that they love it, they are engaged in the process, and the winner gets additional motivation to continue learning words. The other participants want to become winners next time, and their motivation increases. I mean, it's not about you did bad job, you did good job. No, it's about we will have a winner today, no losers, just one winner, the person who knows the biggest amount of words. And we understand people are competitive. It's part of our nature. So everybody wants to be a winner, but nobody feels neglected by not being a winner. Okay, I suppose I have answered your question. Okay, and I'm happy to see that Svetlana shares my love for Quizlet. Well, dear colleagues, there is so much I want to share with you. So the initial time of our webinar was for 1 hour, but I understand we will have to stay a little bit longer. So if you need to leave, I will, of course, understand, but if you can stay, I will speed up a little bit and finish. I'll try to finish as soon as possible. So at stage number 3 of Engage Point, where we only have come to lead in, right? Our students are asked to discuss some questions. And what would we do? We would put them in pairs, right? Or in different breakout rooms. And how do you personally check? I mean, in the class, right? We walk around and see what's going on, maybe correct mistakes, depends. What do we do in an online classroom? How do we check? Well, what I do, right? I ask students to share one interesting thing about their partner, while the whole group, for example, chat box. By the way, doing this, we practice typing in English. Okay, we are moving on to the second stage, which is study, where a new language is usually introduced and followed by controlled practice. For instance, here students are asked to watch a video on time management. And before watching a video, of course, we would follow before, while, and after watching the video things, right? What we can do, we can put students into breakout rooms in pairs or in small groups and ask them to discuss these pre-watching questions. And, for example, to draw up a mind map of their ideas, right? Or to note the answers to their question. Okay. Then, while watching a video on time management, right, you can play it. It's fantastic. Although being really old-fashioned, I take full advantage, of Pearson English portal, because basically I do not need to download, click, go to one place to other place. I just press my mouse and I have everything in one place. So we play the video, students check their ideas, right? And what's good? You can notice here we have sample answers, and also we have a button which is show answers. So students have answers with their ideas, right? Either in mind map or in list, somewhere either typed down or written down. And you do not check it like one by one, or you do not give them the answers. You can, for example, show them answers. And they can then correct either themselves, check what was right, what was wrong, and then we can build the lesson further using this idea. Then we do matching exercise, then we do some other exercises and extra exercise with hard falls, right? Controlled practice. And fantastic, some kind of vocabulary drilling, crossword. Students love crosswords. Then some, again, matching exercise. The next stage is usually activate, where we are interested in free language production. And here, as in terms of speaking business English, we clearly differentiate between pre-experienced students and post-experienced students. Here, using business partners, we do not need to actually think of how this material will suit. We have separate options for students who are still studying and for those who have work experience. And then as they have to work in two groups, right, we offer them some ideas on how to introduce arguments and give counter arguments, and we build on this idea. And what I like, again, here with using Pearson English Portal and this scoring tool is that we can show the, we can kind of be a judge or a referee and check arguments, counter arguments, and check the task being completed in the right way using the resources we have built in. What I love is my self-assessment, right? After setting the goal, we can direct our students to my English lab where they can assess their progress. And I usually ask to report their progress to me, share with me their feelings. Or you can use Mentimeter, right? And do an online quiz to check what they have learned today, what they haven't learned today, how they feel about it, etc. Practice for homework is usually done in my English lab, right, where we have lots of exercises which is really important, automatically checked, and we have common error report and etc. Right, so here just some examples of the tasks we have on vocabulary. And I have a question, actually I have two questions for you. One part, and with, I would say everywhere, in all types and all segments of students, with all segments of students, we do read text, right? That's an example from a business partner reading bank, and it is in PDF format. You have this text in PDF format. How can we transform this task using technology, and which framework will you apply? I was not really good with time management myself today, and that's why if you have any ideas, I will be happy to answer them. Diana, I think you will receive the certificate tomorrow, maybe. We need to convert the video, and then we will send the full pack to you. Or with these words and learning these words, you can also think of how to transform it and which framework you will apply. And finally, I would like, thank you, colleagues, to tell a few words about a teaching course, teacher training course, which will start on the 18th of March. It is called How to Teach Business English. And what I was telling you today about is actually part of this course, namely module number 6, which is on technology integration into business English setting, where you're going to watch my lectures in English on very detailed explanation of TPAC, SAMR, team models with examples. What I should also mention, and maybe if you allow me, I will do it in Russian. Просто несколько слов хотела бы рассказать вам о наших курсах повышения квалификации, на которые мы хотели бы вас пригласить. Мы действуем в соответствии с лицензией на образовательную деятельность и предлагаем вам программы длительностью 36 и 72 академических часа. Мы понимаем, что преподаватели имеют большую необходимость повышения своей квалификации, и предлагаем вам решение, которое совмещает в себя и убивает для вас двух зайцев. Вы понимаете еще лучше, еще глубже, как работать с учебниками Pearson, и получаете удостоверение установленного государством образца, которое в соответствии с требованием Рособорнадзора вносится в ФИС ФРДУ о повышении вашей квалификации. Более того, наши курсы проводятся на платформе VStudy, к которым вы имеете доступ из браузера или из мобильного приложения 24 часа, 7 дней в неделю. Вот наша лицензия на ведение образовательной деятельности. Таким образом выглядит удостоверение о повышении квалификации установленного образца. И я бы хотела рассказать вам несколько слов о первом модуле. И я снова вернусь, если вы не против, к английскому языку. Well, basically, each module consists of several lectures, some self-paced and self-study. The courses are, by the way, self-paced materials. Here, the first module, of course, answers these important questions as what is business English? And to do this, we are going to look into the tree of ELT and find the place of business English or English for business purposes in this ELT tree. Then we're going to look at business English through the glass, I would say, of English of specific purposes, and speak about which main characteristics of English for specific purposes are also applicable to English for business purposes. And I really like this concept of global English or business English as lingua franca, which also is about specific characteristics. Then there are lots of really interesting academic articles which you can read through and look through if you're interested in. One of them is English for specific purposes. What does it mean? Why is it different? Then in lecture number 2, you're going to watch some ideas on business English learner and business English teaching context. As for business English learners, we usually speak of pre-experienced, experienced learners and their main characteristics, ideas, motivation, goals, and etc. And as for the business English teaching context, our teaching approach would greatly vary in terms, depending on where exactly we teach. As teaching in educational institution, private language school, in company, or one-to-one are all different types of teaching contexts. And as I have already mentioned, as I have experience of working for all these educational institutions, private language school and company, and teaching one-to-one, I will be really happy to share my experience with you. And then we're going to speak about a fantastic book, which is called Global Business Speaks English. And you are going to watch a video made by a Harvard Business Review on how a common tongue transforms multinational organizations. And why I've included it into this training course? The answer to this question is very simple. when we teach in company, when we teach, especially I would say in company, though in all other institutions, we always feel that change is really stressful to all of us, right? And speaking of companies for where English becomes working language, all employees are stressed, they are resistant to change, and their efficiency usually falls dramatically. So this book and this video generally provide, again, a framework for assessing readiness and some guidelines for adopting English as a language of communication. And I suppose that all of the ideas given in this book we can also apply in our teaching process, whether it's been educational institute or tertiary, private language school, in company, or when we teach one-to-one. Then we also have to speak on the business English teacher and answer, I think, one of the hottest questions, whether you can teach business English when you're not a specialist. And what makes a good business English teacher? Also, we have to speak on intrinsic and extrinsic motivation and how to provide our clients with client-oriented approach to teaching business English. And, I like very clear frameworks, really 5-stage plan, 7-stage plan. So you are going to look through a 7-stage plan, how to deal with low motivation of our students or clients. And in Russian version it sounds, как избежать, проблем с мотивацией, вообще, что делать у нас с мотивацией. Then a test, and most tests in my courses include open-ended questions, though there will be tests with closed questions. Here is a link to information on our courses. And thank you. Sorry for keeping you waiting for 11 minutes and for the technical issues. I was really delighted to have such fantastic, active audience today, and I'm really grateful that you were open to our interaction. We will be happy to see you at our next webinars. We will be happy to see you at our next educational courses. Thank you. So if you have any questions, I will stay here for some more time. If some of your questions haven't been answered, you can always contact us, and hope to see you soon. So once again, presentation, video, and certificate will be sent to you as soon as we have converted the video. Thank you. Goodbye.